Do, 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 do. Hi everyone, Matt here, and well, guess what? I have some news to talk about today that I didn't expect to talk about at all. But late last night, Japanese time, at the time I'm recording this, Nintendo of America posted a video where they announced a huge surprise that they have gone back for the 30th anniversary of Fire Emblem and are releasing a special version of the original Fire Emblem for the NES, and this time it's going to be English translated. So this is, of course, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. This was the first game in the series that came out in 1990. This was a game that only was released in Japan. As we all know, Fire Emblem was a series that was Japanese only for a very long time. It wasn't until Super Smash Bros. Melee came out and the characters from Fire Emblem were introduced in that game that people were like, well, what is Fire Emblem? I like these characters. I want to know more about that. Then Nintendo decided to give the series a chance in the West. And also, it helped the fact that, Advance Wars did very well. So they thought, well, why not bring out Fire Emblem? And Fire Emblem did very well after that. And it's been a long standing series, of course, not only in Japan, but now around the world. And now, finally, after 30 years of waiting, we are getting a version of the game in English made specifically for the Western market. They're taking the original ROM of the game, putting in the English translation. Apparently, it's also got Japanese as well. And they're selling it digitally starting in December for about $6. That is a great deal to get the classic Fire Emblem game for very little money. They're also releasing a very nice special edition of the game, and it's costing about $50, and it has all these extra features like an art book and a replica game art case and a replica box, and they make it almost like you can buy the original game on the NES. So they kind of made that whole thing up looking like a real release, which really looks cool. I'm a huge Fire Emblem fan, and I have a lot of the special editions. I have a lot of the cool stuff that's available. In fact, I don't know if you can see behind me, I actually have one of the characters' figures. Yeah, it's hard to get my finger there, but yeah, somewhere around there, near the Xenoblade figures. And I would love to get that special edition, but it looks like it's America only, of course, and it's probably already sold out if it's already on sale. So I won't be getting that, but I definitely want to get this digital version because Fire Emblem is one of my favorite series. It's a great strategy RPG game, SRPG game. If you've never played it, obviously the recent game Fire Emblem, The Three Houses, was a big hit. Very fantastic game in its own. And you know what? Actually, I can tell you right now, I can actually play Fire Emblem on my Switch, the original, because it's already available on the Nintendo Switch store in Japan. Well, not the Nintendo Switch store, the Nintendo Switch online service. The original ROM, of course, has been available there for a very long time. Of course, it's Japanese only. This news has been brought out a lot of great reactions from people all over the net. People are excited that Nintendo is going back to its old catalog and looking at games that, of course, that were not translated before and bringing them over. This isn't the first time they did that. They did do that with the original release of Mother, which I believe was called Earthbound Beginnings, when they released that version many years ago, because apparently that game was originally translated and then they never released it. So this is sort of the second time they've done that. And this, guys, of course, gives people hope for Mother 3, of course, the game that everyone wants to play, that's been unofficially translated for years, and everyone's been bugging Nintendo about it, but Nintendo just is very steadfast and like, we're not releasing it or not talking about it. But of course, this opens up the possibility of many games we've never seen that could come to the West. Heck, we could see more Fire Emblem games. That would be fantastic. Now, I wanted to talk about this because there's one thing, however, as great as this news is, and this is great news, there's a very bad bit of news here that needs to be talked about, and I'm seeing a lot of people ignore this. I'm seeing a lot of people excuse this, and I'm worried that this decision that they've made regarding this release, it is, of course, a continuation of things we've seen over the past many months from Nintendo, and I think we're now seeing a standard that they're setting, a precedent that's being made by Nintendo that is very dangerous for the release of games in the future, and it makes me worried about what's going to happen for future releases, not just from Nintendo, but many other companies as well, because we're seeing that Nintendo has success from this. And that Nintendo has said that the release of this game, of course, the physical edition is going to be limited edition. There's no surprise about that. The digital version is also going to be limited in the amount of time you can buy it. You can only buy it up till March 31st of next year. Does this sound familiar? It should, because this is the same thing you know for about Super Mario Brothers 3D All Stars, which is the same thing. You can only buy the game digitally and physically until March 31st, and then it's gone. It's the same with Super Mario Brothers 35th Anniversary Battle Royale. You can only play it until March 31st, and then it's gone. The Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers that's coming out next month, it's only going to be in production until March 31st, and then it's gone. We saw with the Jump Rope Challenge, that special game made during the beginning of the epidemic that's been going on. That originally was supposed to be taken off the store at the end of the summer, but they changed their mind on the last day of that. But what we're seeing is that Nintendo is taking a very big stand on doing what is many people would call the Disney Vault style releasing things. Releasing games with a limited time run, giving you this point in your mind that you have to buy this, otherwise you're not going to be able to get it in the future. And this is something, of course, Disney did a lot during the old days of the VHS era, where they would release movies for a short time, like 6 months, and then they would take it off the market for 7, 8 years, so that you knew that you didn't buy this video at this time, you were not going to get the chance to see it again for another 8 years, and so people would end up buying the videos because they were afraid not to be able to get them. Of course, things have changed in the video market since then, but the video game market, they're moving towards this idea, and I'm really worried about it because we saw with Super Mario 3D All-Stars, there was a big concern by people that the game was going to be hard to find, particularly physically. I didn't think it would be. I thought Nintendo was going to make a lot of copies of it, and actually they did. Scalpers ended up being really screwed in the end because they bought games thinking they were going to sell them for $100, $200, but there have been plenty of copies of Super Mario 3D All-Stars available. So that's a good thing, and those copies, they're probably going to make enough for everyone. But still the fact is that when you take a game off the digital store, especially one you don't really need to because these are games that Nintendo owns, these are their own properties, it creates a sort of a really unfair situation for the consumer, one in which they have to really like rush to buy a game. Maybe it's hard for people to buy a game. Maybe you don't have a Switch and you want to play this game in the future, but if you don't have a Switch, how can you get it? I guess you could buy it in the store and then get a Switch later, but still, that's kind of like a real big hassle. What's the point of putting all this effort in this game, but only releasing it for a short time? Obviously, it's because they want to get as much money as they can up front. They know they will, and by making this a limited release and giving it that sort of prestige, it's going to make people think, oh, I got to rush to get this. But I hate this. I hate this idea. It's bad for consumers. It's bad for the games themselves, and it's bad for game preservation. And I know that, game preservation is more than just, digital game situations. And a lot of people don't even like digital games when it comes to games preservation. But the fact that you're making digital games limited in the amount of time you can buy them without any reason that makes sense, like a licensing problem or a thing like that, that really disappoints me. It makes me very upset as a gamer. I'm really sad about this, and I'm worried that Nintendo is going to continue this strategy because obviously it's working with Mario, and from what we saw last night and the reactions from fans from Fire Emblem, many of the reports I saw, one from Gotaku, has said, "Well, if this is the way it's going to be, so be it. We're going to get it this way." I just think that's a bad way of saying it. I think that we should buy this game because obviously we should support Fire Emblem and support Nintendo in saying we want releases, but we should also send the message to somehow and saying this is not the way we want the releases to be done. There's no reason for you to pull these games in the future. And and who knows, maybe Nintendo has some sort of plan that will involve Fire Emblem being released again in some other way. We don't know. But I think it's something that we really need to keep on the heels with Nintendo on, because Fire Emblem it's just one game, but you're seeing a pattern now that Nintendo's doing with these releases. And who knows what's next? What if that so-called Metroid Prime trilogy game, that the remake of that keeps being rumored for years, what if that comes out with a limited run again, just like Super Mario 3D All-Stars? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. So it's disappointing news to hear that they're going this route, but I guess it's good that, number one, the game is going to be cheap, so it'll be easy to get for almost nothing, but also the fact that we can own it. It's not going to be on the Nintendo online service like it is in Japan. You can actually buy it, own it, and have it forever, which is great. So I'm very excited about this news, but I'm also, of course, a little disappointed by some parts of it. But you know what? That's just my opinion. If you have an opinion of your own, you can please leave it at the bottom on the comments. Always, of course, like or dislike, depending on how you feel about this, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. I've already recorded a pickups video, which I'm going to be working on soon. I'm probably going to re-record it because, as you notice, I got a new light situation here today. And I got some other things I'm going to talk about in the future, some nice little reviews and things. So just keep it on here. We're going to do more videos over the next few days and weeks. And I hope you enjoy them all. Until next time, see you later. Bye. Tune in next time for more news from Raywick Gaming Matt and Nintendo. Please release Metroid Prime Trilogy on Switch.